Chris and Ashley. My video was 30 minutes in length, and due to iMovie, it did not allow me but to post in 15-minute increments. So when I trimmed the previous 15, the other 15 left. So I'm going to pick up really quickly where I left off to be as organic with this as possible. I believe I was talking about my weaknesses, and so where I'd like to pick off is a disagreement. I had a disagreement with my former coworker and my former supervisor. So I basically had two supervisors, one of which was the main one and then his second in command. I was informed by my other colleagues that he was exhibiting inappropriate behavior and unethical behavior in his day-to-day with our students. And therefore, they all felt uncomfortable to address our main supervisor in this process, but yet wanted me to approach him in such a way. So I decided to get all of their opinions, to get all of their perspectives, and to hopefully speak as authentically and on behalf of the group to our main supervisor about his inappropriate behavior and his unethical behavior. And I did so, and actually my main supervisor, due to difficult dynamics and their close supervisor relationship, he initially was very defensive of his actions and just had a hard time wrapping his brain around what had occurred. And I do not love conflict, as you probably can pick up on. However, I decided in that moment to have to really lean into that place of discomfort. In doing so, I reiterated and re-echoed to our main supervisor those same principles, expectations, and vision he casted for our day-to-day that he trusted and entrusted in us that we would uphold. And so I just reiterated those to him, and that pointed out, I believe, to him, helped him gain vision, gave him some clarity that this particular supervisor was falling short in some really concerning areas, especially considering a lot of the safety of our students. And so through that, did he really take a second to pull back his defensiveness and to see our perspective and to evaluate, listen to it, and decide accordingly. And so that was an instance of that. The qualities of leaders. I could go on and on, but here's just a few. Humility, an active learner and listener. I am a very firm believer and echo of anybody who's ever said anything about great leaders is that they are 100 times over the best learners, the best listeners in a group. And so I definitely believe in a commitment to ongoing learning, ongoing listening before all else. They are obviously sacrificial in nature. They exemplify the vision, the goals, the principles, the ethics, the everything in word and in deed in their daily day. They are authentic, they are genuine, they are holistic, they are visionary and yet simultaneously able to work towards that vision, move others along towards that vision, that they are committed to the day-to-day principles, they are committed to the day-to-day actions that are necessary while also striving towards something larger than themselves in behavior and in attitude towards others. They are kind, they are gracious, they are merciful, and they are connected and interrelational. Perhaps one of my, I think one of the strongest qualities of a leader is that they're able to hold people of different everything, walks of life together and can get them on the same team and all moving towards the same goal in harmony and in communal flourishing. And lastly, to kind of reiterate what I had previously talked about, they are gritty beyond gritty when everybody else wants to give up, when everyone else gives up, when those Egyptians when they're in their desert and they're complaining and wanting to give up and don't trust what the vision was. I think of Moses and how he allowed them to prevail and he continued them forward, even when he didn't necessarily believe it for himself. He believed it for them, and they pursued onward. So strong, holistic, connective, gritty, and persevering above all else. Let me refer back to the questions just to make sure I don't miss any. Let's see. So so an example of something. So the example I would like to pick is actually my career playing soccer. I started about the age of 4 and played throughout my college years. And at the time, throughout the duration of all these years I experienced, I feel like every season of life through via soccer. And I oftentimes came back to that same question, whether that was trying to redefine what success meant to me. Did that look like the amount of goals that I scored? Did it look like a college scholarship? And then what did it look like in college? But I had to constantly come back to the question, why do I invest so much time, effort, who I am, pour everything into kicking a ball into a rectangle? It's kind of interesting, right? And so I especially towards my last few seasons, really question the Lord and be like, okay, what is soccer for? What is it? Why is it this goal that I keep, this challenge that I keep coming back to? Is it just to become a better soccer player? But where does this end? Is it linear? Did it begin and end? And what does that look like going forward? And I really wholeheartedly can see its gratification play off into my day-to-day life, whether that be on a personal level, that discipline of years worth of practicing when I didn't feel like it, waking up at the crack of dawn to train, to lift weights, to push myself physically. Has that carried over into my personal discipline, the personal rigor and work ethic and energy that I am able to muster and bring forth and to constantly cultivate and grow and to persevere? I see that snowball into my everyday life, especially when that goes. And then also on a bigger scale, I think the constant tension I faced in soccer was to be internally focused, to focus on me as a player, grow me, grow me, grow me. But instead, I found when I curved that self-ambition outwards and actually poured into my teammates and growing our team, the culture of our team, the relationships of our team from the inside out, from the heart out, oh my goodness, is that we're such gold and fruit was harvested and found, and it just took off from there. And so for me, that delayed gratification has looked like investing in my teammates before investing in myself and seeing how their lives have evolved for the better and how we grew, and how some of which I grew so close to and they became sisters in Christ, and others who didn't and that have later on, in fact, been brought to the Lord in a variety of ways and capacity. And just so that overarching scope of being committed to something that one can simultaneously grow and better themselves and it's constantly challenged and forced to grow, for something bigger than themselves. I've to this day constantly re-experienced and constantly re-gratified. And my thought process through this all was it was an ebb and a flow to it. There were some days I didn't want to be a soccer player. There's some days I didn't want to be a leader, a captain, held accountable to myself or to others. There was just that ebb and flow of the day-to-day. And I think above all else, though, that thought process, like I said, was not linear or exponential in any way. It defined to me what growth, what commitment, and tenacity and grit looked like, and how that carries over to whatever challenge, whatever ongoing world I find myself wrapped up in, that I've got that commitment that I will bring myself fully there, point blank period, no matter what, and see it through to fruition. And so I need to also, retroactively answer. I believe in this blacking out of just like loving to talk about this stuff and find new ways in which to articulate it and express it, and examples of some real leaders and their qualities. The qualities that I named as some of the real leaders that instantly I think of that embody it in their day-to-day holistically, first and foremost that comes to my mind is my mother. My mom is an angel. Sometimes I touch her to make sure she's real, but I really am convinced she is an angel existing in the human body. But besides the fact, I think that her leadership for me was really defined, not even when I see her at her day-to-day, meaning she is full of grace, mercy, and just walks her talk through and through, but it was defined for me when the unforeseeable rug of life was pulled out from underneath her and she experienced some very traumatic circumstances, and she didn't bring everybody else down with her. She didn't wallow in that despair or become victim or subject herself to that place where the enemy loves to lurk and to bring one down to, but instead she rose in strength and putting others before herself and sacrificing and just committing herself to her foundation, which was Christ, and from that springboarding and able to persevere the ongoing storm that a lot of these circumstances continue in her life. Did she really exemplify to me what a real, authentic, genuine leader looks like? With that being said, my mentor, Christy Page, she is currently the CEO of UNC Family Medicine. She is a family physician and chair of the family medicine department within UNC. But beyond that, she certainly exemplifies to me in how a leader's foundation, core principles, her commitment to her faith informs every single facet of her life, professionally, personally, communally, every single way. So whether that looks like managing a multi-billion-dollar medical budget, speaking before a multitude of institutions, or that looks like me babysitting her kids in every single way, her presence is defined by that Jesus presence that really gives her that platform, that security in which to able to exemplify and reiterate those qualities that define such a great leader. I just believe it's through her authenticity that really defines her her universal leadership. And I can only hope and pray that if I combine those two, that if I become 2% of the wives and mothers and leaders and visionaries those two women are in every single aspect of their lives, I will be entirely grateful to the Lord that He has grown me in such a way. Beyond that, let's see, last but not least, I think this is the question that also got cut off. If I'm not selected for the program, where do I see myself? I feel very affirmed by the Lord that the path to becoming an operator is one for me, and so I do not plan to veer from that, and I am very much open to the challenge that it might not be linear, just like all of life's challenges, and it might not be as simple or as direct as through perhaps the Pathfinder experience. But above all else, I am committed. I am committed to pursuing that, and I am very much going to live in that space of grit, of perseverance, of hard work beyond hard work and commitment. So I do see pursuing next steps, I suppose differently, a different pipeline, a different way in which to reorient and think about how to become an operator through getting that hands-on experience. Although I don't like to think about not experiencing it through such a wonderful program, I am wholeheartedly committed to pursuing this with every fiber of my being, however that might pan out and however that might look. So with all that being said, I want to thank you so much for taking the time. I'm so sorry that it got cut off, and so I just appreciate so much your adaptability, your willingness to communicate with me, how much I've already learned through this process, and how much both of you have already really taught and instilled in me. So I really hope that that's just the tip of the iceberg, that I get to really invest and dig in, and hopefully I get to share these brownies and experience you all in person. So yet again, thank you so much, and I just hope that you walk away with such a real, authentic, genuine glimpse of who I am. I would love to give you names of any and everybody from every single facet of my life that gets an experience of Daily Dose of Sarah that may speak on my behalf and give you a better internal glimpse of my strengths, of my weaknesses, of my shortcomings, of my faults, and where I fall short and where I perhaps shine and thrive. And so if you would love, I would love to offer some more outside insight into me. That would be wonderful. So please just let me know, and I'll happily provide those. Do so as soon as possible. And so once again, thank you so much. I am entirely grateful, and I just hope that you are able to get a sense that above all else, my commitment, endurance to running this race, to my faith in Christ, informs every single aspect of my life, and more often than not, that yields just flourishing and thriving for everybody else around me, foremost. And then also that I'm on a constant journey to growing myself, bettering myself, evolving, improving, and just persevering in the best way possible. So thank you again. I hope you both have a wonderful evening, and I look forward to hopefully meeting you again soon in person. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.